I started studying numbers this weekend. I came across savings rates. Now, if you watch the PBD podcast, and you should, it's on live twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 o'clock East Coast, 8 o'clock Central, and 6 a.m. Pacific. But it's available on Spotify and YouTube afterwards. You can watch the video version, and then audio version available everywhere fine podcasts are found. But we talk a lot about macroeconomic stats and the individual. And there have been a ton of stuff that's out there that's been going on with savings rates. And I saw something this weekend, and I tied it right back to early entrepreneurs. So we just talked about going to venture and getting your money and getting next level investment for an established company is tougher to do because of all those stats we saw going down, and the valuations are also getting pressured because we see that because they're making less unicorns. So less and less, but it doesn't mean impossible. Now let's go back to the beginning. Stat came out that said 9% of men and 4.5% of women in the US have 100,000 or more in savings. Everybody else, let's look at the other way. 91% of men and 95% of females do not have 100,000 or more in savings. Let me translate that. What happened to the federal checks? Or did inflation eat those up? Or maybe both. You got a few federal checks, you went back to your job, inflation eats things up. So here's the lesson for entrepreneurs. You're out there trying to start a business, or you're trying to get one off the ground, and you need to have savings. And there may be opportunities for you to live very frugally, keep the job you have, or get there. But if that is the amount of savings are out there, then I'm not surprised by a couple things that I've been seeing lately. Valuetainment Investments Group, valuetainmentinvestmentsgroup.com. You can fill out a form there and let us know about your business. But I'm getting a ton of idea decks. What's an idea deck? The idea deck is, I don't call these business plans because they're really showing ideas. They're not describing a startup business that contains a product idea. And I hope you follow that logic there. But they're really good looking decks, and they send it to investors, and I think they're rather aspirational. And what I mean by that is, hey, I have an idea, and here's my idea. My idea is to do this and start a business, and you invest in that. And then I'm looking at decks that are showing salaries for 3 or 4 people that are more than what they're making now. And I added up the salary, but it's only 3 or 4 people. It's more than what they're spending on product or what they spend on R&D. And I'm like, time out. This is an idea deck where you don't want this job anymore. You have an idea for a business, and you're looking for somebody to just hand you $500,000 to go start this so you can make your salary and work on this idea. Wrong. When I see the savings rate out there, it doesn't surprise me that I'm getting so many of these idea decks. Now, here's what I'm talking about. It's not a bad idea deck. And can you pass me a water from one of our non-sponsors? Sorry about that, getting a little water. And I don't know if you just heard that. We just had big thunder here, and thank you very much. My pleasure. We had some big thunder outside, getting our seasonal rain here in Fort Lauderdale.
It's very wet and rainy. We had historic rain floods last weekend.
Oh, yeah. You may have seen it. 21 inches of rain that we had in Fort Lauderdale. But you know what's interesting? Let me talk about that. We're talking about early stage companies. So let me interrupt this one point and just say, this is when companies come together and you're family or you're not. We had people staying at each other's houses. We had people that had trucks or a Suburban that could get through some of the puddles better than a little Prius. Some people got stranded, so we helped each other out. So as long as we're talking about getting teams together, that's how the Valuetainment team rolls. Valuetainment, kind of a late early stage company. We've really broken through, got a lot of great things going on. But once upon a time, Valuetainment was a startup and driving. But let me get back now to the idea decks. So you got that great team together. You hope to have that kind of existence. And they're sending out idea decks. Notice I'm not calling it bad idea decks. I'm not. It's just if you have an idea, you have to find a way to save, because part of this, we're starting with 9% of men and 4.5% of men have more than 100 grand in savings. And some of that may be emergency funds that you shouldn't be throwing into a new business. You should keep your emergency fund, in position. But nonetheless, they're coming out and they're not bad ideas. But this is where you need to be if you're going to get outside financing. Step one, you have to fund that. And whether it's 30 grand or 20 grand, and you got together with 2 other friends that had 20 grand, just think of it. If you had 5 friends and the average of people, and these are business friends that are the right people to start the business with, and each of you had 20 grand, that's 100,000 you could start with. But you have to be prepared to live amazingly frugally and to invest in the idea itself. Because step one, you have an idea that comes out of your reality. You saw a need, you were working on something, and you saw the gap, you see the white space, and you're like, there's a story linking your background and your expertise with that idea. And so you're like, great, I'm here. The next part is that you spend your own money to get it going. And I'm not talking 5 grand on a credit card, but you get together yourself and a business partner, Paige and Bren that created Google, you get yourself together. They didn't have $1 million together. They were borrowing a garage in Palo Alto, California near Stanford, and had bought the computers and were living on ramen noodles. So that's how they did it. You have to walk the same path, and you spend your own money to get it going. Then you actually have some progress and you sell somebody to join, which is step 3. Step 1, your own idea that came out of a reality that you can show your expertise. It's not just an idea, it came out of you having knowledge about the space, the product, how it's going to be used. Second, your own money gets it started, you and a partner. Third, you sell and get someone to join the investment with you. Now, that may be friends and family. Hopefully it's not your parents playing with your little sister's college fund, but it's people that you brought in, friends and family. Maybe it's a safe note, simple alternative to, other investment. You can look that up, safe note, or, convertible notes, same thing, very similar. And then you get people to come in. Then you get your product out to a first group of customers, and then finally you then replicate that. So it may still only be 3 of you at the business, but now you've put your money in, you got friends and family to help you, you got some traction in the market, first customers, and then you replicated the traction. Why is that important? Replication is hugely important because it doesn't just mean you think you know how to sell it. You now have evidence that you can share with people on how it's going to be sold. And you get more customers and it's making it routine and you're iterating. Now, at that point, that's when Valuetainment Investment Group will look at you. We look at these as Series A. That's where we'll play. And we're going to ask you those questions. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your passion for this product. Where'd that passion come from? Where's that story? How did you start it? Were you living on somebody's couch? Did you build it in your neighbor's garage? Your neighbor let you borrow the garage for $50 a month or something? Who did you get in? Who are your first partners or your first employees? Wow. When did you get product 1.0 out? Interesting. And when did you get customers? And how did you replicate the customers to know that it wasn't just product 1.0, that it was product 1.0 with market acceptance? It was here. So what are you looking for now? Well, I'm looking for 300,000, 400,000, 1 million, whatever it is. And here's what we're going to do. We need to expand the team. We need to add a finance person. We need to add a marketing person. If it's all team, I'm suspicious. We are going to spend the majority of it on product and getting it to 1.5 and the marketing to make it go. Okay, now we're talking. Now that's where VIG will look at you. We love Series A. And, I'll give you an example. VIG invested not too long ago in a company, and I'm going to go completely stealth on details here because there's some still stealth mode. But the founder comes to us and the individual said, hey, I saw what I believed was a market here. I built the first software 100% myself. Wait, that seems significant. How did you build that yourself? Let me explain. When I was 16, 17, I had an idea and I built some software to help a company distribute a product. It wasn't really complicated, but I kept adding on to it, and I got them to pay for it till they finally came back and said, hey, you know what? We'd like to buy that. And so he sold this for, let's just say 200 grand. I think it was a little more than that, but 200 grand. And he used the 200 grand to start the new company and build the software for the company that he was working on. And so then he comes to us with traction and looking for a safe note, raising a little over $1 million. But look at that. He put his own money in from selling software that he made before he was 21 that he was able to sell for a couple $100,000. He then gets the new product off the ground, a couple people hired, gets the traction, replicates the traction with 2 markets, and then comes to us, I want to go big and expand the markets, so I will be enhancing the content, expanding the markets. Guess what? That's when VIG will look at you. The lesson, your dream may start in an apartment you share with 3 friends, but you may need to party less and save the money to make it go. And that's why when I look at these savings rates, I look at what's going on, it really makes me wonder where the next entrepreneurs are going to come. Because if we're not helping our nieces, nephews, and kids and friends to have an attitude of saving, that if you're going to start something, you need to save and you need to, get that all together. Then I think we're doing a disservice. But it's all came out this weekend as I was looking at these savings rates, looking what was happening to them, and it was making me really, kind of nervous, saying, wow, no wonder I'm getting so many idea decks from people that want to quit and want me to not only invest in the product they're building, whether it's software or service or something else, but pay them a paycheck. It's because it's an idea deck, and it may not be a bad idea, but they need to be at an incubator. They need to go to Y Combinator, see if you can get into the next session at Y Combinator or other regional. There used to be incubators in Austin. I think it was Capital Incubator, Capital something was Austin, and incubators like that, but find them. Their job is to help you find angels and get a little traction. Now they're going to take 15, 20% of the company in exchange for that, because it's basically your first investment in the form of services. But nonetheless, you can get it done. And so that's what, so now you can see how my mind works. I see statistics like this with savings rate, and it leads me down this entire path and saying, wait a minute, maybe this is why we're getting all these ideas.